and she's helping me moderate this. So she has me on a clock. And so I have 10 steps, and I'm gonna try to get to all 10 of the steps briefly, and then I definitely be open to some questions and conversations, around this before we go into the last breakout. But one of the things that we talked about was really reconnecting with your purpose. So I asked that question for a purpose, for a reason. And you realize that most things that I do are intentional. So I'm thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead. Um, don't play chess well, but I do know you have to be 4 or 5 moves ahead. And there's a great book called Your Next 5 Moves. And so thinking about what are your next 5 moves in business, but I want you to go back and reconnect with your purpose. And so with that, I want to share a couple things that will help you do that. Number one, figure out what are you good at? What is it that you're good at? What is it that you do without thinking? As you think about that, who can help you with that unique skill set? Who can help that flourish? Who can help that really drive forward? Because oftentimes we want to figure out how instead of who. And then what is the best way to help your target market? So as you identify that target, how can you best help them utilizing your purpose? And so this purpose I'm talking about is a business purpose, but as an entrepreneur, it's really intertwined. It's really intertwined. And so if your business purpose as the CEO, not chief everything officer, just the chief execution officer, executing and having things done, if it is not feeding your purpose, it's going to be draining. In our breakout, we were talking about a gentleman who he was really running a $1 billion fund, financial fund that he owned part of. He walked away to answer his true calling of leading a ministry and start from scratch. I mean, you're talking about connecting to your purpose. He said people thought that he was crazy. And he said it might not have been as financially rewarding over time, but it really served this purpose and allowed him to walk each day on path. And path stands for purpose aligned towards helping. And so, you want to be on path every day. And then realize that even though you discovered your purpose, you say, this is who I am, this is why I was created. Guess what? It's a journey. It's no straight line. It's a rocky road at times. Yes, there's some smooth sailing, or as Orlando shared with us, sometimes there's going to be some rough skies. And you'll be on a ground delay for X amount of time. But that doesn't mean that you do not continue the journey. So I want you to just begin to think about that as you get ready to crush the fourth quarter. And then once you get clarity on that, then it's developing your dynamic growth vision. And so when we talk about that, what is a vision? I won't go through this a whole lot because this is a place I love to help people with. Is really understanding your future state. So when you think 3 years down the road, I want you to give me a great picture. What is that picture of your life? And as a business owner, I talk about 5 F's, your faith, your family, your finances, your fitness, and your fun. What does that look like in each one of them? And then you write this to answer the question, what do I want to become? Because your vision is about a future, a preferred future of who you're not. And so when you think about those 5 F's in each of those areas and you create this dynamic growth vision, no, this is not that one-line statement that sits on a wall behind you. This is a narrative that gets people excited when they hear about it, of where you're going. I remember the first time I did it, I showed my wife the picture of this beach home. She said, hey, that's where we're going on vacation. I said, no, that's where I'm looking for us to buy. So we can wake up each morning and walk along the beach and just think about it. She said, well, why do we need that all the time? I said, well, we may not need it all the time, but we'll have it when we want it. but also I can invite business owners in to come in and revision their life and their business. So, yes, that would serve my purpose. And so, when I think about it from that standpoint, I want to challenge you to think about it for yourself. And so then you say, what are those specific outcomes in order for this to happen and to be realized? Because that is how you develop goals. Going back to outcomes, goals are really just an outcome that have not been realized. I'm an engineer by degree, but I tell people one of the best reverse engineers there is. You give me a challenge or an outcome, and I can help you break it down into simple steps or how to rebuild it. And so I want to challenge you to think about those outcomes, and then you create what we call a 91-day game plan or your goals for the next 91 days. And so on this call, we're talking about the fourth quarter. And so with the fourth quarter, guess what? That's 91 days. 91 days being what? 13 weeks. And so as you ask yourself, what are 3 to 5 things that I'm going to achieve that will move me closer to my vision? Remember, the vision is 3 years out. And so in that, once you identify those three, hopefully, it may be 5. And people say, how can you do 5? Well, as a business owner, remember, you are responsible for all things, but you're not required to do everything. Get away from trying to do everything, but just be responsible for all things. And so, with that, now you can easily say, when someone asks, hey, can you do this? Just say, not now. You don't have to say no, not now, because that's not part of my plan. That's not part of my budget, my time budget, my commitment budget, my financial budget. And so you can focus on those things that are moving you closer to your dynamic growth vision. So I want to challenge you to do that. And then you develop that strategic outline that we call a 91-day game plan. So it gives you in front of you the next steps. And then weekly tasks. How do you basically take from that plan and put them into a place and have a system where you can have your best week ever? And I like to say it that way simply because if you just keep having best weeks, guess what? It gets gooder and gooder when you're having best weeks. And I didn't say yet, ever. So it keeps getting better because you're building on where you're from. And then now you plan that week each week. If you wanted to think about this, there's 168 hours in a week. 168. I can guarantee you this, if you don't get anything else out of this, if you would take just one of those hours each week on a Sunday evening or Monday morning, first thing, and invest in planning your week, guess what? Guess what? You will not accept someone else's week plan. Because I do know this, when you don't plan your week, someone else will give you their week plan. And it could be a combination of things coming at you because you do not have a definite plan. And so one of the things I always challenge business owners and Tariel, I'll be circling back with our team to put this in a comprehensive place. We have what's called an ideal week spreadsheet where you literally plan your ideal week on one page. Your meetings, your project time, your me time, your mommy time, your date night, all of that on one sheet. And so now when someone asks, or your team member or your assistant, they can look at your sheet and say, it's not a good time. Nope, there's a plan there already. And so you have to really plan your week. And then from there, identify an accountability partner or two to help keep you on target. For the last, look back at it, for the last about 5.5, 6 years, I have an accountability partner. We meet every Monday morning, most Mondays, probably 40, 45 out the year. Only time we don't meet is when we're on vacations. but we still send each other's our weekly intentions via email or text. Here's my number one thing for this week. I want you to hold me accountable for it. Because remember, the things that get counted get measured. You don't have a bunch of something without actually counting the bunches. And so I want to challenge you to think about that. And then if you're really serious, find a coach, because coaches are multipliers. Coaches are the people that pull it out of you. They help you see your full potential, but more importantly, help you realize it by having a system and a way to help you move forward, to help you stay on path, to help you navigate the journey, to help hold you accountable all in one. And there is a difference. There is a difference. There's a difference between mentors. Oftentimes people say, well, I got a mentor, I don't need a coach. Well, no, mentor's job is not to coach you. A mentor's job is to share from experience their knowledge to help you move forward. An advisor is someone who's sharing more of the training role. A mentor is there because they just want to see you grow and help you. And that's a whole another training I remember going through from John Maxwell on how to be a good mentee and how to be a good mentor, which was a powerful training. And then there's a phrase that I use: do what you know, not what you feel, but do it daily. Do what you know and not what we feel. Because once you go through this process, you know what to do oftentimes. Once you've gotten the training, once you have worked through some of the technical stuff, you know what you need to do. But the challenge is we often don't feel like it. So I want to challenge you to think about that as we get ready for this fourth quarter, is to really own this process, so you can crush your fourth quarter. So you can, when you go into Christmas, and you're giving thanks, when you go into Christmas and you're talking about what 2024 looked like, it is just awesome. You're going to say, it was my best year yet. Not ever, just yet. Because there's more to come. If you choose to join us, and I'll share more about this as we firm it up next week. We're doing a dream retreat in Destin, Florida, Martin Luther King weekend. Live lies in your dream. So when you got to realize, then you got to go live lies. So put that plan in place, spending time with 15 other entrepreneurs, crafting your dynamic vision, putting a plan in place, and then just going out and crushing it for the year. So with that, back out to you. And so as we talk about steps to crushing the fourth quarter, I want you to really think about the fourth quarter. Oftentimes more points are scored in the fourth quarter of a game than any other single quarter. Why is that? Why didn't you just do the same thing that you did before, especially that 2-minute drill? You can go down the field and score in 2 minutes, but it's really about focus. More sales happen in corporate America and large companies in the fourth quarter because people get back to business and focus on the fourth quarter. So when you think about your business, what are you going to do to crush the fourth quarter? What are you going to do to really dominate your business, dominate in what you do to hit those goals? And so I want to just quickly go through some steps